Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am doing this special LinkedIn Live session ahead of the release of my brand new podcast, Start Being Visible, which is launching on the 4th of October. Mark the date in your diary, 4th of October. You're going to be able to get my brand new podcast, Start Being Visible, absolutely everywhere that you get your podcast from. So I cannot wait to share this with you. And I want you to do me a favor right now and commit to hitting the subscribe button as soon as you see it pop up in your favorite podcast player, whether that's on Apple, on Spotify, on, I don't know, wherever else you listen to podcasts, right? And it's also going to be on YouTube and live right here on LinkedIn. So, as always, if you are tuning in to my live sessions, I'd love you to just engage in the comments by introducing yourself, letting me know who you are and where in the world you're tuning in from, right? Okay, but this session we are doing, I wanted to talk about something special in preparation to going live on LinkedIn with my podcast next week. I wanted to go live this week to actually share with you what I don't think I've shared the fullness of it in its entirety before, not in one setting anyway. I've done it in various podcasts and various live sessions, but I wanted to use the session to talk to you about my own journey to being visible and why I am so passionate about this whole thing about helping women in particular to start being visible in your own work lives. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of my journey. And it's not just about, you're not going to sit here for half an hour, whatever, hearing about me, because I'm going to apply as I go along. Please take what applies to you and let it, I'm hoping that it will encourage you. It will inspire you to start your journey to be invisible, whatever stage you are in the process and whatever part of my journey that you can relate to. And I'm hoping that you will be able to relate to as we go on. So, okay, so this whole journey, what I currently do today, in case you're tuning in and you're like, who is this? What are you on about? So my name is Mildred Talabi. I have spent the last decade or so building my personal brand, which has helped to move my career forward and my business forward. So I had a career that started out in journalism, and I worked in the media for a bit before I moved into PR and communications. But I always had a business on the side, which has had I've done different things along the way. But the one that I am doing now, and I have been doing for the past, at the time of recording, coming up to 4 years, is I specialize in helping women to build powerful, authentic personal brands through being visible on LinkedIn. Now, why build personal brand? Because it is absolutely great for improving your career prospects if you are in a career world. And it is brilliant for improving your business, attracting your ideal clients if you run your own business. So there is great benefit to being visible and building your personal brand on LinkedIn. But so in this session right now, I want to, as I said, I'm going to talk to you about my own journey to be invisible, because believe me, we did not start over here. We did not start off being visible. By we, I mean me. I did not start off in this place of being visible. In fact, I did not even like the idea of being visible, because when I was young, I was what most people would call a shy kid, you know. So I was so shy, you know, when I went to school here in the UK, I was so shy that if the teacher even thought to ask me a question, I would feel myself turning red. And I'm black. So that's kind of hard to do, you know. But that's how much I did not want to be visible. I didn't want to be seen. You know, I like to do my own thing. I had friends and stuff. I got on with my stuff, but anything that kind of put me in the spotlight, center of stage, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be part of. I didn't want to know. So I was comfortable in the background, you know, for most of my childhood. You know, by the way, this is a side note. There is a difference between being shy and quiet. There are different personality types. Shy is not a personality. It's a crippling place to be in, right? Quietness is a personality type, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so this is how I started. I wasn't one of these loud kids or anything like that who liked the spotlight. I definitely was not that. I was quite the opposite, and I was shy growing up. So my career choice, when I decided to go into journalism, I went into journalism. I was initially on a path to become a lawyer, thanks to my parents' encouragement. But I realized halfway through my A levels, in college, that law was not my passion. And the thing that I've always been passionate about since I was young was writing, So I decided that I was going to try and carve out a career in journalism, which at the time, this is going back almost 2 decades now, at the time was something that was still quite a challenge to get into. And even my dad said to me at the time, he meant well, but he's like, Mildred, you can't do journalism. Like, Black people don't get into journalism. I was like, there's Trevor McDonald on TV. That was like the one person. And I think there's another newsreader. Oh my God, is it Edna? Her name has completely escaped me, right? But anyway, there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me in the journalism field, whether on the screen or in print. At least I don't know what they look like in print. I only knew you can only go by name sometimes, So, but anyway, I wanted to become a journalist. I loved writing, so I studied creative writing and film studies at university, and then I started working for a bit, got my first job in journalism as assistant editor. No, I started off as editorial assistant of a magazine called BFM. And then within 3 months, I was promoted to assistant editor, and I had the responsibility of putting together the whole magazine. I was like 21 at the time, as well as recruiting people and freelancers and all of that. Now, along the way of that is when I started my first business. Not my first, one of my longest business, my CV makeover business, which ended up lasting for about 12 years before that graduated into LinkedIn. But the important part on the visibility is that there was a time I considered doing more than just writing in my journalism career. I considered that because I later on got a scholarship from News International, now called News UK, to study journalism, because when I finished my degree, I really wanted to have a qualification in journalism. I wanted a postgrad, but I didn't want to take on any more loans. I didn't want to take on any more student loans, so that scholarship opportunity was amazing. And I'm so grateful that I was able to study journalism, all expenses paid at Harlow College from News International with that scholarship. But part of the thing of studying journalism is that you get the opportunity to kind of specialize in a field, so in a medium, should I say. I had already decided that writing was the thing for me because I loved writing, but also another reason is that writing allowed me to hide, to be honest. I considered broadcast journalism briefly, and I was like, no way, in front of the camera, none of that. And the behind the stage stuff was a lot, but I didn't want it. It's not for me. And then I considered radio and experimented with radio for a bit. I did a radio course. And at the time, believe it or not, I actually hated my voice. I really hated the sound of my voice being played back. So that quickly put the nail in the coffin for any radio career that I was going to have, because I just couldn't do it, owning this voice. And this is an important part of visibility, right? Because you have to get to a place where you own your voice and you love your voice. Now, I don't just mean literally the sound of it, but also the voice that you have, the things that you have to say. All of us have a message that we carry. All of us have a voice, and all of us has an audience that want to hear that voice. And in fact, more than just want, need to hear our voice, because you were part of unlocking someone else's destiny. I know it sounds all deep and spiritual, but I am a believer. I'm a Christian, and I do believe in purpose and all of that. But I really do believe that we all have a voice. So at that point, I hated my voice, literally, and also on a other level. I didn't recognize that I had a voice, but I hated the physical sound of my voice. So, by the way, I love it now. In case you don't know, I love it now. I love the sound of my own voice. It is amazing and unique, just as I am, right? But anyway, so that was it. I didn't do radio, so I stayed with writing because writing allowed me to hide. As well. I loved it, but it also allowed me to hide. You don't have to be visible with writing. You can just be behind the scenes and do your thing. And that was great for me for a while. So around that time as well, I also got into LinkedIn from quite early on. And LinkedIn was a platform, as well as I was on Facebook, on Twitter, and all the different ones at some point. I've mastered all of them at some point, all the key ones. And LinkedIn at one point was I was like, this platform is pretty good. I would put things out. This is when I was very unintentional about building my brand here. I would just put my thoughts out every now and again, and I'd get some engagement. I'd get some people reach out to me. But I realized then, and this is only on reflection later on that I realized this, but through LinkedIn, I was actually initially able to still continue hiding, right? But in plain sight. It's kind of weird, because social media, a lot of women that I speak to say, Mildred, I don't want to be on social media because I want to stay hidden. But actually there was a certain element of social media that allowed me to still hide because I could do things online that I didn't feel as confident doing in real life, because in real life I was still struggling with things like public speaking and all of that, and going to networking events and all that kind of stuff. It was a struggle that I put myself through deliberately because I wanted to grow in those areas. So I did that, and I'll talk about the role of personal development in just a moment on my journey to being visible. So I was able to kind of use social media in a way to still kind of hide, because I would put out text, and even though I had my profile and all of that on there, it's still kind of, you don't see me, and I would put things out that was kind of, I didn't do as much personal content. Every now and again I did, or things that I was passionate about, I might share about, but really it was mainly professional content. But I started to see that LinkedIn as a platform was actually pretty good in terms of reach, in terms of engagement, but also in terms of the kind of people and the conversations that I would have on LinkedIn were different from what I would have on these other platforms. And it was also really good for building my business, which, as I said, I had my career and I had a business at the time. So it was good for building my profile for career reasons. And it was also good for building my business as well, to attract clients, etc. So social media. So that was like my early introduction to social media, and then LinkedIn in particular, like kind of hiding online, but, venturing to be visible. Now, in the background, I got into personal development big time, So I have a few people to thank for that, including, first of all, my husband Malachi, he was awesome. He was always like, didn't love reading and stuff at school, I know that, but he would read so many books, was constantly learning. And I was there like, I know stuff already, right? But he's one of the ones that really helped me get into personal development. And then also my the one of my first church that I was part of, a member for a long time, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, shout out Bishop Wayne Malcolm, so that was another avenue where I got into personal development. So this whole idea of kind of developing yourself to becoming a better version of yourself started for me. It's been a journey of at least 10-15 years, probably longer than that. So personal development, the biggest book I've read in this area, the Bible, really helped to renew my mind about who I am and what's possible, about my voice, my contribution to the world, what God thinks of me, and like what my assignment is in the world. That was a major turning point for me as I started to understand that actually visibility is not something that's about me. My visibility impacts you. My visibility is my way of contributing to the world around me, to my community, to my society, as is yours. It's bigger than just you and I, it really is. So as I started to understand that over a period of years, I started to get more and more comfortable, things like speaking engagements. I went from somebody who, if you put me on stage, I would like, oh my God, I'd wish that there'll be a hole in the floor to swallow me up, to the place of like getting paid to speak, and share messages with people and train on things like personal branding and LinkedIn, and at the time CVs, which used to be my former business, CVs and resumes. I would do training sessions. I wrote 4 books along the way. But so books, personal development has been really key. Reading books and kind of really coming to this place of understanding that there's more. One of my favorite books apart from the Bible is called An Enemy Called Average by John Mason. And I remember reading that about a decade ago, and it really kind of inspired me, had this like anger inside of me that I don't want to be average. You and I are not called to be average. And part of the way that we stay average is when we stay hiding, When we are not visible, we stay average, we stay hiding, we are not using our skills, our expertise, we're not contributing to the world in the most maximum way possible. And I wanted, the more I read on things like this, the more I wanted to change this, the more I wanted to grow. And I knew that at the time I didn't have the term, but I knew that being visible was the key to this, that I needed to stop hiding and I needed to start taking center stage in my own life, you know? And so some of the things that I did also around personal development is join Toastmasters, you know, it's a leadership and public speaking organization. And that helped me to kind of just to get stage time, more presence, like more opportunities to speak in front of strangers who became friends later on. But you know, all of that helped to kind of take me out of my comfort zone. And I think this is really important on your journey to be invisible. Is I want you to know that it's going to get uncomfortable. That if you only do things that you're comfortable with, you are never going to grow and you're never going to meet your full potential. You know, but when you allow yourself to go outside of your comfort zone, to stretch outside of your comfort zone, you don't have to live there, because I know it can get uncomfortable, duh, you know. But if you allow yourself to visit there often, you will find that what you thought possible for yourself, the limitations you had on yourself, will slowly start to expand. I am doing things today in my day-to-day work life, like this live, that I never thought was possible a decade ago. You know, I am doing these things because I have deliberately and intentionally stretched outside of my comfort zone over the years, and so can you. And it starts with making a decision to be visible. Now, I along with the whole initially, so when I realized, I said at the beginning that I was shy as a kid, but I realized actually that it wasn't shyness, that shyness and quietness are two different things. That actually I wasn't shy, I was quiet. You know, and another book, and I reference books a lot, as I said, I read a lot, I'm big on personal development. A book that really kind of was life-changing for me in this sense was reading Susan Cain's book, Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. That's the name of the book, Quiet. I watched her TED Talk first and I literally cried. You know, I was like, for the first time in my life, I felt like somebody understood, like I had words to put to the things that I've known and felt about myself over these years that mostly I thought were negative things, because we live in the Western world. Most of all, extroversion is celebrated. That's the truth of it, more than introversion, because being out there and all of that, being a go-getter, people associate that with being an extrovert. But actually, there's a lot of go-getting introverts. You know, the president of the United States prior to this one, I don't even know who's president right now, Barack Obama, President Obama, was an introvert and he led a whole state. So trust me, there's things that introverts can do. But anyway, hearing that TED Talk and reading the book kind of was mind-blowing for me, because I can actually put into words like the things that I'd known about myself, but I just didn't know what they were and what those feelings were. So it's like, oh my God, I'm an introvert. So now I don't have to, I can lean into that, and I do lean into that in the way that I do my work. And if you're listening to this right now and you're like, Mildred, oh my God, that's me too. I'm an introvert, and that's what stops me from being visible, whether on LinkedIn or elsewhere. I'm here to let you know that you can absolutely still be visible and still be an introvert. You know, you can, and it's all about what I said about pushing past your comfort zone bit by bit by bit, expanding the possibilities, your mind, about what you think is possible for you to achieve. And also about saying yes more than you say no. Say yes to those things that scare you. Putting a post out on LinkedIn, oh my God, scary, do it. That's a good sign that you should do it. Doing a video on LinkedIn, I remember the first time I did a video on LinkedIn. Oh my God, I was terrified. And I probably blinked about 100 times, because it was like a reaction to just kind of like being in front of the camera. Even though at the time, these weren't live. These were just pre-recorded videos, you know. But it took several times. It took a while, you know, to get comfortable with it. But as an introvert, you absolutely can build a visible and profitable business. If you're a business owner, just build your visibility and build your thought leadership and your status, if you're not in business, as an introvert on LinkedIn, through being visible. And you can do it in a way that doesn't burn you out. You can do it in a way where it's sustainable. So I understanding this about myself. I was like, I've made adjustments, and this is probably a conversation for a future podcast episode. I've made adjustments in my work life as to how I can operate in a way that actually lends itself positively to who I am and how I'm wired, as opposed to me trying to fit the mode for other people. So I got to the point on this whole journey. I got to the place where I realized that, okay, LinkedIn as a platform is an amazing platform, but I have not been utilizing this to its potential at all. And you might be watching this right now. It might be the same for you. You might not have been utilizing LinkedIn to its potential, but I'm here to tell you that there's so much more that you can do with this platform. And it starts with making a decision. That decision is a decision to commit. So, and that's the decision that I made beginning of 2020, January 2020. Well, actually, the decision was made end of 2019, but I took action beginning of 2020. I joined the challenge that somebody was running, a 30-day challenge where it required us to post every single day on LinkedIn for 30 days. Now, prior to this time, I'd only posted once a week. I'd only, not once a week. Oh my God, it wasn't that frequently. I only posted once every so often when inspiration hit. So which did occasionally it worked out to about once a week. Usually it was less. So I went from doing that occasional posting to posting every single weekday on LinkedIn for 30 days in that challenge. And my God, was it a challenge? It was an absolute challenge. But guess what? It stretched me beyond what I thought possible. Initially, I thought, I can't do this. What am I going to talk about? What if people don't respond? What if, all the what ifs. But guess what? At this time of recording, not only did I post every single weekday for those 30 days, I have posted every single weekday on LinkedIn and some weekends for coming up to 4 years. So consistency. And as a result of doing this, as a result of posting is your number one way of being visible on LinkedIn. If you do not create content and post content, you are essentially invisible. Yes, there are other things you can do like commenting, engaging with people, but you cannot build a personal brand. You cannot build your thought leadership. You cannot build your business if you do not post content. So posting content has been so key to my visibility here on LinkedIn. And I today, I've posted, as I said, almost for 4 years, and I still haven't run out of things to say. And now I spend my time teaching seminars, courses. I have programs on this. I do coaching, group coaching, one-to-one coaching. I run my own challenges, to help, especially women, to build your visibility on LinkedIn, because it is absolutely possible. Whatever your starting point is, whether you started like me, or someone who is shy, whether you consider yourself an introvert, whether you might even say, Mildred, I don't like writing. I'm not good at writing. That's okay. You don't have to write all the time. You can post videos. You can do lives like this one. There is a power. There is something for you right here in being visible. And I say being visible on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be just LinkedIn, but we can start here and expand from there, right? But you being visible on this platform is going to open doors to change your life in ways that you haven't expected. So as I round this up, and in sharing my journey with you, the thing I want to leave you with, that all it takes is for you to make the decision to start being visible. So I am passionate about you being visible, because I know that you have a voice, you have a story, you have a message, you have a contribution to make to the world that will stay trapped inside of you if you don't start being visible. You have a business that is serving people, a business that it can potentially change someone's life, but nobody's going to know about it if you don't start being visible. There's a promotion waiting for you at your job or in a new role. There's a leadership position that you're going to take, but that's not going to happen if you don't start being visible. So wherever you are on the scale of being visible, I want to let you know that I am here to support you on this journey to being visible. And that is why I am launching this podcast next month, on the 4th of October. Start Being Visible with Mildred Talabi. In this podcast, we are going to talk about everything around. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to take you on a journey to building your visibility on LinkedIn and beyond. And also, crucially, I am going to be having conversations with other amazing women who have decided to step out of the shadows and into the limelight in their own work life. So this will be women in business, women in different career forms, career spaces. I want to raise the visibility of women in every industry through this podcast and through the work that I do. So if that sounds like something that you can get on board with, I want you to look for the podcast, start being visible, and I want you to subscribe to it straight away, because I have a goal to get to, I don't know, can we get to 1,000 downloads, in our first month of being out, 1,000 subscribers, right? If we can, that would be absolutely awesome. And I'd love you to help me get there by being one of the subscribers. So that is it for today. If this has been helpful to you, if it's been good, if it's been useful, I want you to let me know in the comments, and feel free to reach out to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn if we're not connected, and just if you need support to be visible, if you want to start this journey and you're ready, I do coaching, so I would love to help you with that. I do coaching. I have programs that you can jump on board with. So reach out to me, and I genuinely hope that this has been useful to you, and I would love to hear your takeaways in the comments. So that is it for now. Look out for that podcast, Start Being Visible, coming very soon to your podcast place of choice. All right, I'll see you on there. Take care.